Everything we fought for this year, the last couple of years, frankly, comes to fruition today. This is, as Kurt Schlichter put it over at townhall.com, 0 hour for America. And I am so glad to be able to come into these studios and spend Election Day with you. Wouldn't have it any other way. I hope you put our phone number front and center at 1-800-655-MIKE, because I want to talk to Americans all throughout the country today as we are preparing to go through what could be a very, very contentious, tumultuous period of time. And I didn't think anything could top what we've seen in 2020. Kurt writes, look, I think we win, and I don't think it's going to be close. Most people in the know, whatever the hell that means, he writes, agree. We can feel the enthusiasm. We see the Dems solemnly trudging towards defeat. We all recognize the utter absence of any statistically significant move from Trump to Biden since 2016, while the opposite shift is manifest. The only thing that doesn't support a Trump rout are some of the polls, but what the CNN Weenies strategy poll of living and or dead Democrat voters says means nothing. All that remains is for us to go out and win this. Kurt writes, some cliches are still true. You gotta vote. Your family and friends gotta vote. Other conservatives gotta vote. You can help get people to the polls. How do you not go nuts on Election Day as Election Day turns into counting days? Well, chill. Kurt says there's nothing you can do now anyway, except for living out those aforementioned cliches. Look, we've got a good plan and we're executing it well. Trump and his surrogates tirelessly hitting the key states, drawing huge crowds eager to stand out in the cold just to see Trump bust a move to YMCA. I saw that last night. They did a montage of Trump. They call it the Trump now, the dance, where he kind of just takes he balls up his fists and he sort of shimmies back and forth and does the, Kurt Schlichter writes, our strategy was always to hit the polls on Election Day. That's your part of the plan. And you'd slither through rows of barbed wire to cast your vote for Lil Wayne's favorite president. So we're in a good place with a solid plan being executed well. Second, everyone in the mainstream media will lie to you all day as the voting is happening. Ignore them. Nothing anyone says should give you any pause. The mainstream media, he writes, will lie to you precisely because they wish to elicit that sinking feeling in your gut that all is lost, so that instead of venturing out to the polls, you find a closet and curl up in the bottom in a fetal position. You'll hear about voters being suppressed in Democrat areas of Democrat cities, which is, of course, Trump's fault. No matter that people have been voting since Labor Day, ignore that too. It's excuse creation for what the Democrats know will be an ugly night. You'll hear about exit polls. These carefully choreographed leaks are nonsense. You want to assess the accuracy of such polls? Apply this test. What would most Biden supporters say, and what would most Trump voters say if approached by a pollster? Third, as the voting closes, don't stress. The mainstream media will eagerly call states for Biden, but stretch it out to the breaking point when calling Trump wins. You'll see the fix is in when they start telling you that Texas is a jump ball. The wheels of time will grind slowly, but finally. In the end, he says, we win. And of course, fourth, you'll hear ominous reports of violence, looming violence, footage of windows boarded up. Of course, who was it yesterday? Was it the goofy governor of, I think, Oregon, who fears right-wing violence? It's amusing that the media pushes that nonsense, even as it simultaneously wants you to really understand that the threat is from the left. Remember, the mainstream media supports leftist violence that seeks to intimidate you, he says. You know what? We're not going to be intimidated, writes Kurt Schlichter at townhall.com. Since you have obeyed my admonition to exercise your rights, you're prepared to defend your property and family, Should anyone get frisky in your house? And if Biden supporters want to destroy the blue cities they infest, go for it. He says it's like that scene in the now canceled Blazing Saddles, now canceled, of course, where the hero holds a gun to his head to keep the townsfolk who want to lynch him at bay. Kurt says if you don't want your city burned down, don't elect arsonists. Fifth, there will be lawsuits, larceny, and lies in the days to come. So what? We have lawyers too, he writes, good ones, and a Supreme Court that will generally follow the law now that Roberts is no longer the swing vote. The media will scream about counting every vote as if there's someone out there demanding we not count legal votes. And yes, we do need to be concerned about voter fraud, and we are. We're watching. We're observing. Plus, it only matters when the vote is close. And if you do your part, it won't be. Relax, he says. You have just one job. Go vote. Get others to vote. You do that, and Election Day will go just fine. That's Kurt Schlichter at TownHall.com. We have a lot of territory to cover on this Election Day 2020, November the 3rd.